Hi everyone, I am here to do a tag video today, and the tag that I'm doing is the U tag, created by Jim's Books Reading and Stuff. This was released last week. It's the, as of this second, it won't be later when I upload this video, it's the most recent in his series of alphabet tag videos. I've done a couple of these in the past, but most of the time I can't answer the questions, and it just reminds me how much of an uncultured ignorance one I am, and how limited I am in my reading. So, but I like the sound of the prompts in this tag, so I thought I'd give it a go. So the first question is U is for unicorn. What is your favorite fantasy creature? So I wouldn't necessarily call these fantasy creatures. Normally when I think of fantasy, I think of dragons or unicorns, but the two that come to mind are vampires and witches. I really like the historical development and the the concept of witches, especially. So here's a good book, The Penguin Book of Witches, edited by Catherine Howe, who is a descendant of one of the women who were convicted and the accused in the witchcraft trials of Salem. So these are court documents and first-hand accounts of women and men who were accused of witchcraft in the U.S. between the 17th up until even the 19th century. So that's quite good. And then this is Ronald Hutton's The Witch. So this combines anthropology and history, actually, in looking at the historical development of witchcraft in very ancient cultures, so Egypt, Mesopotamia, up until, early modern Europe. So looking at how witchcraft became, the mania that overswept Europe, especially in the 15th and 16th centuries, starting with Catharism. I'll stop rambling on, but suffice to say, I really like reading about the history of these, the folklore surrounding it. And then, of course, I mentioned Dracula. So Dracula is one of my favorite novels. I really like the folklore surrounding vampires, and of course, real life figures that influence our understanding of vampires. So Vlad Dracula, the inspiration for Dracula. Sorry, the image on my camera today really sucks. Sorry about that. But yeah, there we go. Stop rambling on about that. So the second question is U is for USA. If you're from the US, which state are you living in? What is special about that state? And if you're outside the US, which state would you like to visit and why? So I am from the US, but I don't currently live there. I have been living in the United Kingdom for the past 11 years, but I am originally from a small mid-Atlantic state called Maryland. And it's called one of its nicknames, there's two. So it's called the Mason-Dixon line state, or the old line state, sorry, but also America in miniature. And it's called America in miniature because it truly is geographically representative of the whole US. We've got beaches, we've got mountains, we've got plains. It's a beautiful state, and it's bifurcated by the largest bay in the country, the Chesapeake. So we're known for our delicious shellfish, if you like crab. And we're known for our beautiful outdoors. And it's just such a special little state that I think is overlooked. Where I'm from, it's very close to the Virginia border, and also just a stone's throw away from Washington, D.C., but it's got such a rich history. It's one of the 13 original colonies. It's got one of the oldest cities in the country, St. Mary's. And of course, it's known for its Civil War history as well. I grew up very close to Antietam in Western Maryland, but I think a lot of people don't realize that Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass were slaves from Maryland who escaped that state, and then were key figures in the abolitionist movements. and important for the Underground Railroad. So Maryland today is known as a mid-Atlantic state, but I think that a lot of people are quick to forget that, 100 years ago, Marylanders, or most Marylanders, especially from the East, considered themselves Southern. Um, so, because of our geographical location between, the North and the South, Maryland was hugely involved in the Civil War. So it's a great place to visit if you're interested in Civil War history. Um, but I haven't been back to the States in over 2 years now, so I'd like to get back to Maryland and see my family, and that's just due to COVID. So I'm going back in the next couple of months, which will be great. But anyways, the next question is for the USA and USSR. Do you have a favorite book about the Cold War? And this is where I can't really answer much. I am not a huge reader or enthusiast when it comes to the Cold War, but in fact, I think I tend to shy away from modern history. In general, I prefer reading history that is very old, like millions of years old, or medieval. I think pretty much up until the Second World War is pretty much the limit of my interest, and that sounds pretty horrible to say. I should read more recently, but if I had to choose an answer, I'd probably say The Hunt for Red October, and that's probably because it's the only book that I've read about the Cold War. So yeah, moving on. The next one is U is for Uruguay, Uganda, the United Arab Emirates, Ukraine, Uzbekistan and Upper Volta, now Burkina Faso. Have you read any books connected with these countries? And of course, it would have been too easy, Jim, for you to include the United Kingdom, but I'll let that pass. This is another question where I'm normally like, no, I haven't read any books by authors from these countries, but I think I sort of have an answer here, and this is stretching, but I picked up this book yesterday from the British Heart Foundation, which is a charity shop in the UK. This is Justin Marazzi's Tamerlane. So he's the last successful Mongol conqueror, and he built his capital in Samarkand, which is in Uzbekistan. So that's my answer for this one. So the next question is, U is for underwater. What is your favorite book set underwater? So I really like Galapagos by Kurt Vonnegut. In fact, I really like Vonnegut's books. So this is a book about a cruise liner that sinks on the Galapagos Islands, but this is simultaneous with, I think it's been a while since I've read this, but I think there was a nuclear explosion that wipes out the rest of humankind. So this takes place in the future after, evolution's had a chance to, make a mark on these individuals. So it's about how this group of people that did survive became evolved for, life underwater. So if I remember correctly, they pretty much evolve looking like dolphins. But I really like this book. If you like Vonnegut, but you haven't read this, or you're thinking about reading Vonnegut, I do recommend this, even though most of the time when I finish reading a book by him, I'm like, what the heck did I just read? His style of writing is very unusual, but I do enjoy it. So give that a go if you like. So the next question is umbrella. What is a good book for a rainy day? And as I mentioned to Jim, all books are good for a rainy day. But I think when it comes to a rainy day, you want to sit on, your couch or your bed with a nice blanket and a cup of tea, and just appreciate the shelter and comfort that you get when it's a rainy day. And I think I read a lot of medieval biographies, and it just, reminds me of when I'm reading about these cold, dank castles or, thatch roof housing. It just makes me feel even cozier when I'm reading on a rainy day. So, yeah, I don't I think all books are appropriate, but I think it's the ones that make me appreciate how cozy I am that are the best for that particular sort of setting. So the next question is U is for urban fantasy. Have you read any urban fantasies, and do you have a favorite book in the subgenre? It's hard enough getting me to read fiction, although I do like the idea of urban fantasy. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to skip this question. So the next one is U is for Ulysses. What does Ulysses mean for you in your reading life? So in the literal sense, I think of the Odyssey, but also I think of Ulysses as Grant. And have I got the book? Oh, I'm using it as a prop. But I'm staring at one of my biographies by Ron Chernow that I haven't even read yet about Grant, but in a metaphorical sense, it would be a very Odyssean task. So yes, I think that was a good question, Jim. The next and final prompt is U is for unread. What percentage of the books on your shelf remain unread? So just looking at my physical shelves, which I do have a very humble reading collection. I don't think I have more than 200 to 250 physical books. I'd probably say 15% remain unread. But it's a lot more on my Kindle because I buy a lot of Kindle books, so I won't even go there. So I need to really tell myself to stop buying new books, but it's really difficult, as I'm sure you all know. But anyways, that was a very enjoyable tag created by Jim at Jim's Book Reading and Stuff. I can't wait to hear the prompts in his next tag video. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions or comments, you know where to leave them. And until next time, YouTube, speak to you later. Bye.